All right, my friends, welcome. Welcome to the College Teachers Training Program, or CTTP, as you will get to know it and love it. My name is Adam Lawrence. I am a recruitment officer here at the college, or remotely for the college right now. But I'm thrilled that we're able to do this session tonight. And I am very happy that everybody was able to join us. I know that there will probably be some folks who will be joining us throughout the session as their time allows, so that's great too. And we are recording this session, so we will have options to send out recordings of it as well at the end. So that's great. Before we get started, I do want to go through just a couple of housekeeping things, and then I'll get into the agenda here. If you do have any questions as we go along through the presentation, you can address those questions in chat. The chat function is very easy to use, and in fact, I will use it right now and say hello, everyone. And feel free to chat back if you want to. That way you know that it is working. What we'll be doing is I'll be moderating chat throughout the presentation, and then when we're finished, we'll have a proper Q&A at the end for any questions that come up during. The other thing that we'll be using chat for is we'll be putting in links that are addressed, online links that are addressed within the presentation that our presenters refer to, so that way you can click them directly through the chat. They'll open up a new window for you, but I always ask, try to wait to the end to do that, because we're going to be covering a lot of valuable information throughout the presentation itself. So we do our agenda for tonight. Of course, we're going to be doing a little overview. I will be doing a little overview of the college, just so you know what to expect of the place you're going to be studying at. We'll do some introductions for our fabulous presenters from the program here, talk a bit about the program, who all the fabulous students are, where you guys are planning and hopefully will end up, what to expect within the program, how to get into the program, and then, of course, like I said, the Q&A session at the end. So let's jump right on in and start with a little bit of an overview of the college. So George Brown College is the only GTA college that has the majority of its campuses in the downtown core. We technically have 3 main campuses, and they're indicated there. They're the larger pictures, CL, SJ, and W. That would be Casa Loma, St. James, and Waterfront Campus. The Casa Loma campus, home to our skilled trades, our construction, architecture, our fashion, dance, jewelry design is all over there. St. James, where your program is, also home to business school, our culinary school, as well as our many of our preparatory liberal arts programs, and our social community service programs are also there. Waterfront, home to our health sciences like nursing and dental, things like that, and also our brand new design school that just opened just across the street from that big building you see there, right down on the waterfront. Those smaller 3 buildings are satellite campuses, and the SB is for Sunnybrook. It's where our orthotics and prosthetics program is. YC is Young Center for the Performing Arts. That's where our theater program is in the distillery. And then we also have a campus on the Ryerson University's campus. It's where our early childhood education programs are based out of. But like I mentioned before, this program, the CTTP program, will be happening, the majority of it will be happening at the St. James campus. And let's talk a little bit about that right now. St. James is really conveniently located. It's probably our most quote-unquote downtown campus, right at the corner of King and Jarvis. Very easy to get to by public transit, as is all of our campuses. But you'll have the ability to get there by subway, by streetcar, heck, walking if you wanted to as well. It's made up of about 7 different buildings, all within sort of a quarter-kilometer radius. So you may find yourself having to walk outside at some point, but certainly not far. And the majority, or I should say a lot of classes, but certainly the majority of student support services, these are things like our student affairs office, counseling, disability, athletics, things like that, are all housed within our SJA, the large square there, what we would probably refer to as our main building in this campus. So a very brief overview of what to expect, but St. James is a wonderful place to be. It is our largest campus by volume of students, roughly about 16,000 students or so when we're up and running come September. So it's a wonderful space, and I hope when you do find yourself down there, if you do choose to take this program, that you enjoy it as much as we do. So that'll be it for me as far as presenting right now, and I'm going to pass the reins over to the important people here in this presentation, and that's Valerie and Sharona. And I'm going to pass it over to you guys to introduce yourselves and move on with the presentation.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Valerie, and I am the academic coordinator of College Teachers Training Program, CTTP. I'm going to get us started with the introduction and some details about the program, and then Sharona will take over. Sharona, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Sharona, and I'll be speaking to you for the second half of this information session. And I am the program coordinator, and like Valerie, we both teach also in the program. So I'll pass it to you, Valerie, for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm just going to take my camera off because you don't need to see me for the whole time, but you'll be able to see the slides and the information. And if you have any questions, we are happy to answer the questions at the end. We'll be here as long as you need us to be here and make sure that you understand what you need to understand about the program. So this program is for teachers who are internationally experienced. We have our students come from all over the world, a little bit more about that later, but we focus on a few things that are very important in this program. One is learner-centered teaching, learning, and assessment methods. We do a lot of work on that in terms of the research of applying learner-centered methods in teaching and assessment and in curriculum development. Outcomes-based teaching is a philosophy that puts outcomes at the foundation of everything you do, and it's also learner-centered. Inclusive design, so we can provide teaching and learning methods and strategies for all kinds of learners who maybe approach learning in a different way from their classmates. Our programs have a lot of teaching demonstrations with feedback, and we will video record the demonstrations and give feedback and give you another chance, video record it again and give feedback and give you an opportunity to reflect on what you see. And those video recordings of your teaching are yours to keep. One of our courses focuses on professional communication in the higher education context. So communicating in a multicultural setting, and conflict management, and interacting with people from a wide variety of backgrounds and areas of interest. One of the courses focuses on job search skills in the academic context, and within that course there are opportunities to polish up your resume and your communication, your written communication with possible hiring managers, and you also get opportunities to participate in mock interviews, so, and to get feedback about how you come across in an interview. So when the time comes for you to have a real interview, you have a little bit more confidence going into that. One of the most important parts of the program is a placement, a mentorship placement. And that happens in the winter semester. And all of our students are placed for one full semester, for one class per semester, with a teacher in their subject area or as close as possible to their subject area. So everybody can learn the ups and downs of a semester and how the teacher makes relationships with the students and deals with classroom management and essentially applies the things that we learned and talked about in the fall semester. The program is 2 semesters long, starts in September and finishes in April, and Sharona will give you some more details about that. It's a full-time program that is really Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. The courses are not, you aren't in class Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, but there are opportunities to do workshops and to do observations and meet with people and have guest speakers. So we like people to be available as much as possible on a full-time basis. I mentioned the mock interviews. I mentioned the mentorship placement, and I did mention the workshops. There are also opportunities to do some professional development sessions that are offered at the college, and so whenever we have an opportunity to have someone come in and speak to us and give us the benefit of their experience and knowledge, we like to make sure that we have time to build that in. There is a sample for the sample schedule. 4 of the courses in the 2 semesters are fully online. So in the fall semester, Teacher Development in Higher Education, TDHE, and Teaching Toolbox 1 are fully online courses. And we have an online learning platform that you will use. It's quite easy to use, and we make sure everybody is up to speed and feels comfortable using it. And in the winter semester, Curriculum Development in Higher Education and Teaching Toolbox 2 are fully online courses. There's one course, the Employment Skills course, both Part 1 in the fall and Part 2 in the winter, that is mostly online but has in-person meetings and activities, and that's where the mock interviews take place. There are workshops, there are resume writing workshops and workshops, and in the winter semester you build an electronic portfolio, so there are in-person meetings to help with designing and building that. And there are 4 courses over 2 semesters that are primarily in person, but each of those courses also has an online component. So in the fall semester, Practical Teaching Skills, which is the demonstration-based course, and Professional Communications, Part 1, is in person. And in the winter semester, Professional Communications, Part 2, and the Reflective Teaching Skills course, which is attached to the placement. Those are in-person courses. But as I mentioned, there are also online components to those courses. This is the sample schedule. This is the schedule that we had this year. Usually, this is for the fall semester. The Practical Teaching Skills is held all day Monday, and the Professional Communication Skills class is in class 2 afternoons a week. This past fall, it happened to be Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. It may not be Tuesday and Thursday afternoon in the next semester. It depends on availability of rooms and availability of teachers, but you can guarantee that there will be 4 half-day classes in person in class. The other days, as I said, we arrange for visits and observations to classes, and we have speakers come in and presenters. This past year, we had our vice president come and speak to the students about the plans of the college as the college looks forward to more digitization. And everybody found that, including him, a very interesting experience and discussion. Our students come from all over the world, as you can see. Europe, South America, Central America. Australia, many of our students, and you'll hear from one of them soon, one of the graduates, have studied in Australia. They've studied in countries all over and taught in countries all over. And so there's a great diversity of country. But one of the things that we all have in common is that we're all teachers and we're all passionate about teaching. So this is a wonderful experience when people bring their experiences and challenges and learning from all over the world, and we help one another to learn from that when we're in class. And as I said, the one thing that we all have in common is that we have all taught and we are all teachers. And but we have people with quite a wide background. Professors, people have been in research, people have been worked in teaching hospitals, have worked in the business area, in business training. It's quite a variety of backgrounds. But, and Sharona will talk a little bit more about this, one of the things that everybody needs to have to enter the program is some teaching experience. So our graduates from the program, and the program has been going since 2007, so we have a fair number of graduates at this point. Our graduates are the majority of them are teaching, some full-time, some part-time, some partial load, which is in between full-time and part-time. They're teaching at, we have graduates at every college in the Greater Toronto Area. There are 4 community colleges like George Brown, and there are graduates teaching at each of those colleges. They're teaching at almost every college in Ontario, which is a wonderful thing for us to know, and that we're having an effect across Ontario. There are graduates who are teaching in Alberta and British Columbia, and I know of one who is employed at a university in the United States. There may be more, but I know for sure of one. Some people return to university for further study, and some people decide that maybe teaching in the college is not for them, and they move into the areas of research or design curriculum for different programs. I'm going to turn it over to Humayun, who has very kindly joined us here, and he can give you some insight about where he is and his experience with the program. He's a graduate of the program from 2017.
Thank you, Valerie, for having me, and thank you to the team. So, I'm not sure where should I begin, but I would like to give you some sort of impressions about how or what kind of experience I did gain from this program. So as a landed immigrant and who had a PhD, also several years teaching experience, so I was confused in the initial period here. I don't know where to begin with and who should I contact. I was trying to continue with my applications in different colleges and different universities, but it did not work. And then finally I reflect on, and then I decide, okay, I should do something new. And I found this CTTP program was kind of useful in a sense, because I looked into the program and I found these programs actually equip or prepare any international graduates or teachers who had some sort of experience to prepare for teaching in Canadian context. So this, I looked into the program curriculum and all these things. I found this is equipped with or blended with so many skills, including soft skills, cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, and most importantly, with some sort of cutting-edge knowledge like the use of technology in the classroom, and of course, attitudes. So attitudes, I mean, I came from a country which is highly high context, and my teaching experience was based in high context societies. So I know the differences. I started to realize the differences. I found this CTTP program was trying to give us some sort of sense of egalitarian principle and philosophy, both in teaching and learning, and that I enjoyed a lot. So, additionally, what I found that it's not about education. It's not about gaining knowledge for being a good teacher, or adopting new attitudes for being a successful teacher in Canadian context. Most importantly, I feel like in the initial period, kind of powerless, and while joining in this program, I started to regain my power, feel a sense of power, and I started to have gain more confidence. And finally, I found that this program is not about learning so many things. It's about also, as a new immigrant, how can I integrate to the wider Canadian society? And that's really helped me. So I established so many social networks. So I keep continuing to apply different colleges. And after the first semester, I started to teach at a Humber College. I got an opportunity, and it's been now more than 3 years I'm teaching at Humber College. Additionally, I'm teaching at also George Brown, and sometimes at the University of Guelph Humber. So yeah, that's how I ended up. I mean, and I would say thanks to CTTP.
So thank you so much, Humayun. It is always great to hear from you, and to hear from our graduates who we're very, very proud of, and very happy to call our colleagues now and not our students anymore.
Thank you.
So some of the strengths of the program I would just like to mention, certainly the practicum is really a strength. And we find that people who come into the program are so passionate about teaching and just really, really want to get out there into the classroom. So the practicum gives you an opportunity to do that. And we encourage the practicum teacher to give you opportunities to teach when you're in the classroom in the winter semester. And whenever that happens, I do my best to get there so I can observe and give you some feedback, and just so we can talk about the experience and see how you felt about it. Another strength of the program, and I think Humayun mentioned that as well, there's quite a community that has developed in over the years of the CTTP graduates. And we often have people come into the class and speak and support our current students. And they will often, if they hear of jobs or of opportunities at the colleges that they happen to be at, that the word goes out as well. And there are people around the Greater Toronto area at different colleges and even beyond who are more and more looking for CTTP graduates to start working in their areas, because they realize that it's very good training and they have excellent and experienced teachers coming in. Every year, the colleges do a KPI research survey, key performance indicator, and year after year, the graduate satisfaction of CTTP has been very, very high. New applicants in the program are often people that that have heard about the program from former graduates. So that's a really good indication for us that people are finding that the program is a success for them. And I think one of the most important strengths of the program is the faculty that are teaching in the program. Sharona is one, I'm one, and we have two other teachers who are experienced college instructors, and just like everyone, just like all of the students are very passionate about teaching and learning. I'm going to turn it over to Sharona for some details about the program and the application process.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. So hi, everyone. I am back, and I'll be just going over some program basics and the admission requirements for the program and some of the questions that I get from our applicants. If you still have some questions that we haven't been able to answer, please just hold on to your questions, and we'll be done with this soon, and then you can ask your questions. So, okay, program basics. As already mentioned, Valerie mentioned, this program starts in the September of each year, and it ends around mid-April. So we don't have a January or a spring intake, only fall intake. We take domestic as well as international students into this program, and this is a first come, first serve program, meaning that we don't have a deadline for the program. As you can see, we have about 20 to 25 seats in the program, so it's quite an intimate group of people in this program. And once we get our numbers, then that's when we close our application intake. So that's why it's based on a first come, first serve. And the range of our students' age is from 20 to about 50. And as already mentioned by Valerie, they come from all over the world and from all different types of academic backgrounds. So the way that you can apply for the program is through online, and you can apply online through the George Brown College's website, where this program's link is provided, and Adam is actually providing those links for us in the chat section. Thank you, Adam. So both for international and domestic students, they can apply online for the program. Okay, so let's get into some of the other basics, and that would include tuition fees, and tuition fees for domestic and international. What we have here were for this past September, so September 2019. So domestic was about 7,621 and Canadian dollars, and international was 16,194. And these fees are subject to change, and normally we see these changes sometime in May or June or July. I'm not exactly sure about the date, but they change about 300 to 400. Don't quote me on that, but if you do see that change, it's expected for it to change. Okay, and how you can pay for your fees. The fees can be paid in installments. So so basically, you would pay around half of it for the first semester, and the second half for the second semester. So roughly would be half of that for each term. And unfortunately, as of now, we don't have any financial assistance or support for international students. However, our program is OSAP eligible for those who are Canadian residents or citizens. So for domestic applicants, there is financial assistance, and they can apply for OSAP. One other thing that I wanted to mention was that this is a bridging program for internationally educated professionals such as yourselves, that is intended to transition you into the Canadian college system. And so it's not the same, and it's only intended for professionals who are interested in teaching in a college setting and of course, if they have the credentials and qualifications, they can go on and teach at a university. But here in Canada, what we have is that we have our colleges and universities. It's not regulated, and so you don't necessarily need to have any type of certificate to get in and apply. However, if you want to teach at a secondary and or elementary here in Canada, which is so basically high school and lower, then education is regulated here, and you would have to go through Ontario College of Teachers. And so obtaining this certificate does not qualify you to teach at a secondary or elementary school. This is essentially just a way to get you in and familiarize you with the Canadian college system and how it's run, basically. So hopefully I've answered that question. Okay, so how do you get into this program? So we advise you that once you've looked at these admission requirements that I'm going to go through, and you have decided that this is the right program for you, so you're eligible and you're interested, then go ahead and start your application as soon as possible. And the reason for that is that obtaining some of these documents are going to take a little bit of time, so we don't want you to be pressed for time. The admission requirements here, we have two different slides for domestic, and which is the first page, and for international. So as you will see, the admission requirements are essentially almost the same for both types of applicants, except for the English proficiency part, so which I'm going to go through, so just bear with me. When it comes to, for the admission requirements, it's absolutely essential for you to have a master's degree that is Canadian equivalent. And the reason for that is that we train, this is essentially a training program to ready you to teach in a college setting for domestic in Canada, for domestic as well as international. And for you to be able to teach at a college here, you need to at least have a master's degree, and that would apply to domestic as well. So it's one of the requirements. I mean, now it's gone up to PhDs and whatnot, but so you need to have at least a Canadian equivalent master's to get into the program, so that you can be employable once you've completed the program. And this Canadian equivalent, it needs to be, your degree needs to be evaluated by a recognized accredited organization, such as World Education Services if you're outside of Canada, WES, or if you're in Canada, it would be ICAS, University of Toronto, and there are other ones that we can definitely talk about if you want to send me an email and you're not sure about it. And so the reason that we need to have this assessment done is that sometimes, unfortunately, depending on the institution that you're coming from in the country, your degree may not have the same, it may not equate to the same degree here in Canada. So we've had in the past applicants who've had master's degrees from the country that they're from, but then once they get their assessment done, the master's equates to a 4-year degree or something along those lines. So that's why it's absolutely essential for you to get that assessed and get it started as soon as possible. So if you start your assessment for your degree sometime in January, February, March, April even, or late April, it's okay, because it takes about 1.5 to 2 months for any of these institutions to get it done. But if you wait till when it gets closer to the start of the academic year, then it's going to take longer for instance, for WES to be able to assess your degree, because they're going to have a larger volume of applications to go through. So we advise you to get this started as soon as possible, so that you're not going to, because if you don't have your assessment, your admission requirements in, then unfortunately we're not going to be able to admit you into the program. So we don't want you to have that problem. So the next important component of the admission requirement is going to be the English proficiency. And so this is the one that the difference will come for domestic and international. So for domestic, our domestic students, we ask that you complete the CLB, which is Canadian Language Benchmark. And you can take this test free of charge at any YMCA in the Toronto area. Just look them up on Google, give them a call, make an appointment. You can make an appointment within a week. It shouldn't be a problem. You can go in and you can do the test. And the results that we're looking for, no exceptions, is the level 8 for speaking and listening, and level 7 for reading and writing. And the reason, again, admission is quite adamant about this. I mean, if the numbers are up and down, they're going to be fussy about it, because this is a professional program, and these are the minimum requirements that we ask for. So we have here the Canadian Language Benchmark, also the CLB, or the ELTPA, which is the next level up of CLB, the Enhanced Language Training. So either of these are okay, and the same, we require the same numbers. So again, level 8 for speaking and listening, and level 7 for reading and writing. So that's for our domestic students. So the admission requirement would be, as already mentioned by Valerie, would be at least 1 year full-time teaching experience at a secondary or post-secondary level. And of course, your status of residency while you're in Canada. For our domestic, it would either be a permanent resident, citizen, or convention refugee, and for our international students would be a student visa. So just keep all that information handy, and we're going to go to the admission requirements for international students. Okay, so again, as mentioned before, I'm just going to quickly go over the ones that are the same. The international students also require a master's degree that has been evaluated for the reasons that I mentioned before. But here, it's the English proficiency requirement that differs. As you can see, for international, we would require IELTS academic and or TOEFL. And we would need the numbers that we require is level 6 in each of the sections of reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and an overall of 6.5. So 6 in each section with an overall 6.5. So this is for our international students who are outside of Canada when they are applying for this program. But if you have international students who are already in Canada, and have been enrolled in our George Brown College English for Academic Purposes, also known as EAP, they are in if they completed their level 9, we also accept that as a way of qualifying for this component. And then, so the rest is the same. We would need the 1 year teaching, full-time teaching experience at a secondary or post-secondary level, and of course your a residency status, which would be based on a visa status, student visa. Just a note here to bring to your attention that your test results, both the CLB, ELTPA, and or your IELTS and TOEFL results, cannot be older than 2 years for both types of applicants. Okay, so. Okay, so you have gotten your documents ready. You have your assessment, you have your English test, you got your student visa and everything. What do you do now? It's time to apply for the program. And so you, as mentioned before, you go online and you apply. There is a non-refundable fee for the application process, and then you can either upload your documents onto the website, or you can just email it to me or one of the international representatives. So just one thing that I wanted to re-emphasize, as I've already done, please, once you know that you're eligible for the program and this program is the right program for you, begin your assessment so that you can have your credential assessment done on time. And also, if you have to write the IELTS or whatnot, then you can have that done as well. So you, as mentioned, you apply online, you upload your documents, or you send it to either myself or one of the international representatives. So those documents are submitted. And once we receive your documents, once I receive your documents and make sure that you have provided us with all the admission agreements and everything is fine, then I will send you an email to invite you to come in for an interview. The interview is going to be approximately for an hour with Valerie, who was speaking with you. And basically, this at the interview stage, it's not so formal, but it's not so not formal. It's just basically the last stage that Valerie checks in with you to make sure that you know, this is in fact the right program for you, and also that you are right for the program. So you don't need to bring any documents with you, and you don't need to prepare as much. Just bring yourself, and we have all your documents on file, and Valerie will have them on hand when she comes in to interview you. Now, if you are in Canada and you're able to come into the school and meet with us face to face, that's how we're going to set up the interview. But if you are away during that time, or you are still outside of Canada when this whole interview process is taking place, that's still not a problem. We can conduct the interview via Skype, and so that's not an issue. So once we have had the interview, and everything is fine, you like us, we like you, then what happens is that we notify admissions that yes, this person has been accepted into the program, and they go ahead and they release an admission offer for you, and then from then on, basically what happens is that we'll be in communication with you for the start of the semester. We'll give you your class schedules, and you'll begin to register and pay your fees, and we'll get you ready and started for the start of the academic year. So that's basically the gist of the application process for both domestic and international students. Okay, so hopefully we've provided you with all the information, but that's okay. If now we're going to be taking any questions that you have, and if you still want to contact us, this is the program's email address, cttp@georgebrown.ca. So you can either email us or give us a call at 416-415-5000 extension 3268, and we would be happy to hear from you and answer any questions that you might have. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks very, very much to both Valerie and Sharona and Humayun for a fabulous presentation. So I do see some folks still online with us, which is wonderful. If anybody has any questions now, you're more than welcome to put them in chat, or also, I'm going to turn on your microphones. So if you do have access to a microphone on your computer, you can turn that on, and you're able to ask Sharona, Humayun, or Valerie any questions you might have. So go ahead and do that right now if you'd like. From Carrie Ann, final year of my master's program. So I'd like to know how I can apply for the next school year. I'm assuming that we're talking about, no problem. I assume that we're talking about 2021. As far as I know, 2021 goes online, i.e. to be available for applications usually in late October, early November of 2020. So it's usually just about maybe 11 months or so before the start of the following school year. I don't know if Sharona or Valerie, you can speak to that. I'm not sure if your program opens any earlier, but if you were planning on applying a year out from now, not September 2020, but September 2021, when would be the best time to start looking at the applications?
Oh, so there's a question from what I know, but then we have the international representative who may be able to answer that better. But from what I know in terms of international is that it would be best to have had your documents all completed before, because if you apply, even if we had the application system open for you to apply, your degree hasn't been completed, and so if anything, right. Yeah, I would advise for it to be finished and then applying. Right now, it would, yeah. Let's see what the international representative has to say, but I would advise for the next not to apply now. Yeah, okay.
Okay, fantastic. So our international representative is going to provide you with the email for the business development officer, or really the link or country sort of expert from the international office who can give you that specific information as it relates to Jamaica. Matt, our international rep, is going to give you that email as we speak. There was one other question that came in from, where did I see it? I'm sure I saw it.
Was it the IELTS? Do we take IELTS?
I'm not sure. Okay. You know what? I can't find it now. I think it was from, oh, you know where it is? Sorry, it was in a private. It was in a private chat. Question to me. Katrina asks, will international students be responsible for obtaining their student visas? So again, I will pass that over to probably to our international representative. So Matt, the question is, are students responsible for getting their student visas in order to study? And Katrina, I'm going to assume that Matt's going to answer that question through chat. So if you just want to keep an eye out for that, that'd be fantastic. So yes, he did answer. Yes, students are responsible for getting their own visas. And I'm sure if you went on to international.ca, or sorry, georgebrown.ca/international, my apologies, there would be information on there. Okay, so another quick note here from him. Unfortunately, due to recent legislation, GBC George Brown is unable to provide advice or guidance relating to immigration, work study permits, or visas. As such, contact the IRCC, formerly CIC, directly for their assistance. And you can see Katrina and everyone else, Matt, thank you, has posted the link to that page in there, so they will be able to help you directly with sorting out any questions that you have to study permits and whatnot. Also, just as a follow-up to Kira Ann, Matt did provide the email for Kira, KEGOROVA @georgebrown.ca. So please reach out to Kira directly, and she can answer questions about application timing and whatnot. And Katrina, you're very welcome. I'm glad we were able to answer that question for you. I don't see anything else coming in, and as it is 10 minutes to 10 our time here in Toronto, I'm going to close down the session at this point. Of course, if you do have any other questions, CTTP, and I'm going to put it into chat again, CTTP, thank you, at georgebrown.ca for if you have any questions specific to the program, for any international questions, general questions, and then they can put you in touch with the appropriate person, international at .ca. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming. Valerie, Sharona, Humayun, thank you so much for being here. And have a wonderful evening, and stay healthy, everyone.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.